What was the darkest thing you have ever seen on Reddit? The guy in France who fell out of his apartment window and was impaled on a concrete pole. He sat there with that pole up inside him, slowly squirming and dying. Absolutely horrifying and totally shocking. A little girl who fell out of a window. Her skull opened up and her brain was just sitting on the ground. Her parents were there. Never used the random NSFW button on my Reddit viewer again. Jason in hell. Dude's wife had been cheating with the neighbor, IIRC, and was remorseless about it. He asks for advice on Reddit, and decides it is for the best to get a divorce. So he breaks the news to her. They had 2 young kids. Because his wife's reaction was to slaughter them, before stabbing herself. She didn't die and got a prison sentence. The post right above this one was about a kid whose uncle with cancer shot himself so that his money could be spent on the kid's college education instead of his medical bills. I have bipolar disorder and frequent the subreddits for it. One time, a guy posted repeatedly about feeling suicidal and hopeless. I interacted with the posts, many did, and messaged him a few times. A few weeks later, he posted that he had attempted suicide and failed. Then he just stopped posting. Never saw another post from the account. I can only assume what happened, but it still makes me sad. I didn't realize what it was before it was too late. No explicit gore or close-up imagery, but it was a bunch of teenagers running crying through a corridor, and out into the open. It was the aftermath of one of the big school shootings. They were running past dead classmates. It was horrendous. Someone left a nasty comment on a post, so I looked at their post history to see if that's what they were like or if they were having a bad day or something. Just a couple posts earlier, they posted a photo of a murdered child in /r/vegan. It was a pretty graphic photo of a young child, maybe 5 years old. I really wish I hadn't seen it. Relatively recent one, so I've probably seen worse, but this is what comes to mind. It was some video of a Ukrainian drone dropping an explosive on 2 Russian soldiers sleeping. It hits their legs and they both sort of hug each other waiting to die. /#0000000. Edit, just remembered, for real, when r/watching P-Pleddy was still up. Friend of mine and I would spend hours at school-free periods indulging our morbid curiosity. So many Chinese construction workers, Indian power line electricians, Brazilian bus drivers were observed that day. When that journalist and her cameraman got shot on live television in 2016. That shit has stuck with me. A post just a week or 2 ago about how someone's QAnon dad just murdered their mom and sister before killing himself. It was reported on the news later that day. Saw a freaking vest bomber blow himself and one other person up that was trying to stop him, red mist and all. Some asshole posted it in r/unexpected and it'll be with me for a long time. The story was that villagers caught a pedophile and hanged him, made it so he die slowly. Video shows the guy struggling to not die, but he slowly stopped moving. There was a fire under him so he couldn't stay still or else hell burn his feet. Then he'd be poked with a sharp stick so he'd flail wildly. When he wasn't moving anymore, someone used him as a target practice. The guy who posted about catching his wife screwing the neighbor. Then, when he filed for divorce, she murdered their kids. That fucked me up for a bit. There was this AskReddit a couple days ago that asked physically disabled people what some of the struggles and limitations were that others wouldn't expect. I was not prepared for reading about people dreaming they could still walk or dance and then waking up. I cried. Saw a child get crushed by an elevator, a man fly off a train and cut in half by a sign, school shooting security camera footage and more. There's a lot of fucked up shit in the world. I don't really feel anything now, way too much time on internet and 50/50 when I was younger and when this shit was real. The last thing who stay with me is this little boy, 8 to 9 years old, laying on a bench, everything intact except his poor head who's blow up. The picture take place in Kyiv. High as fuck girl driving her younger sister somewhere, they got into a crash and the sister died, think half her head was shaved off on the asphalt. Older girl was too high to realize she was dead, so she got out and was holding and shaking her dead sister's body, laughing and smiling, talking about how they were going to get in trouble. Video of a guy in an accident where he was in a motorcycle, hit a roadblock, went flying, ran into a car going in the opposite direction, and he just blew up. Like a big red streak along the pavement and the car from window removed from existence. The audio tape from the Jonestown massacre. I thought it was going to be the speech he made to convince them to drink the Kool-Aid. But the tape had audio of the children screaming in pain and him saying they are crying because it tastes bad. Cyanide is one of the most painful ways to go. And hearing all those children and babies scream and cry is seared into my brain. I wish I never listened to it. Saw a video of a guy on a bicycle riding next to a bus. He falls off the bike and his body gets crushed by the bus spraying blood onto the concrete. Some Middle Eastern dudes just putting people on a cage, then just lowering them very very slowly below water. Shooting it all on full HD. Still haunts me. Same dudes made like slow-mo videos of blowing people's brains out with a rifle close up. Turns out your skull acts like it's jelly. You don't want the trauma of seeing that shit, believe me. Probably the video of a guy cutting a live dog open and pulling puppies out of its wound. The links have been removed but it was very disturbing to watch. U/Jason in hell. I even talked to the guy on my old account right before it all went down and gave him words of support in leaving his wife and he replied to me. I don't really give marital advice anymore obviously. I saw a man burn to death. He wasn't screaming, just rapidly running around while people watched. He went from flailing his body around to dropping completely still. I also saw a monk purposely burn himself to death in protest of some kind. However, he stood still, didn't move, and after what seemed like forever dropped. Both just as traumatic as the other. I see a child p***rn and I report. After that Reddit delete this immediately. Usually if you report something it takes time. POV vertical phone video of a cartel member / gang member somewhere in South America shooting a young boy to death, younger than 10 it looked like, who supposedly had broken into his house and stole from him. And #X200B. Edit, oh, and the Doritos post was pretty bad. The video of the Christchurch mass shooting. Being a bodycam video from the shooter's perspective made me feel pretty sick. Dude was just rounding corners and shooting into piles of people trying to hide in the corner of the room. Pretty much the video that got /r/watch Pia Pleddy shut down. Probably the home security footage of the wife and husband who were shot down in the street /driveway because they had pushed a neighbor too far and he cracked. It was pretty brutal. Edit, from reading the comments, man you people have seen some seriously fucked up shit on Reddit. I've been on Reddit for nearly 15 years and have not seen any of that. Guess I just stayed out of the more fucked up subreddits.